And we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the ToolBelt episode 288. I'm your host, Ty Cobb. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition. We will be back after our short intro from our sponsors.
TC Packer, TC Packer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. TC Packer, TC Packer.
Is your lead flow down? Whether you're a company owner, office staff, salesperson, or installer, you're a roofing rock star. We help you get more leads with custom SEO, Google Ads, and a pro website.
Welcome to Behind the ToolBelt, where the stories are bold, the conversations are real, and the insights come to you live, raw, and uncut. Every week, host Ty Cobb sits down to bring you the stories, the struggles, the lessons learned, and the wins. No filters, no scripts, just the truth. Please welcome your host of Behind the ToolBelt, Ty Cobb.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, on this rainy Wednesday edition of Behind the ToolBelt. Now, last week we talked about how to amplify your brand by developing your company's culture through leadership and creating lasting authority while expanding your market presence. This week, I would like to talk a little bit probably about obviously leadership, because that's all I'd like to talk about. Not all of it, but most of it. It's kind of weird not having Vic in the studio with me, but I do see him over there. Hi, Vic. He's behind the stage. What's up, dude? Good to see you, brother. Anyhow, like I said last week, this all starts with great leadership. There's no secret sauce. You have to be able to manage yourself, lead yourself, and learn how to serve before you can lead others. And listen, by no means, I say this all the time, I'm not perfect. I am a work in progress, and I am trying to personally develop my leadership ability to be a better parent, be a better coworker, so on and so forth. So leadership, yeah, it's a ever evolving, changing thing, at least for me. Some of you know and have heard me mention, I'm in the process of writing a book. I refuse to use AI. I want it to be my words only. And it's like the more that I'm studying this thing, the more that it's evolving, the more that I'm changing. My outlook on things are changing. And I think my biggest struggle with that is that I don't want to contradict myself like 10 years from now or even a month from now. Right. So very careful on what I'm putting in there, even though most of it is stuff that I've heard along the way. Sharing a lot of my personal experiences and things like that. And one of my personal experiences is being a horrible follower, right? Especially, not in a leadership position, but also being in a leadership position is having the capabilities of following. And anybody in any kind of organization or family, right? There's a time to step back and there's a time to let other people take the lead on something, offer suggestions, using other people's ideas, because as parents, as manager, as person in a leadership position, we don't have all the answers. And the sooner we figure that out, and the sooner we let everybody know that, the easier our lives become. But there has been times in my career where that I have failed. I've failed to follow. I have failed to take people's suggestions. And in an effort to prove my leadership, right, I have made myself look bad rather than strengthen myself as a leader. and of course, and in the eyes of my teammates, it undermines them, right? It undermines my leadership ability, and what when this happens, I have to, or I've had to, recover, right? I've had to build back trust. I've had to, just eat crow, go back, apologize, whatever, and especially like if I undermine somebody and it's like my way or the highway, and we go ahead and move forward with my plan and it fails, right? And of course, they're sitting there saying, told you so, whether they say it out loud to you or not. But man, I hate when I put myself in that position. And I would consider that one of probably the weakest forms of leadership, right? And I've heard it where it's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors. Well, it's more like a rock, paper, rank, right? And rank always wins. So um heard that from a great author. Some of you that might follow Jocko Willink and his co-author. Shoot, I just totally lost train of thought there. Forgot that Leif Babin, his co-author, might have actually been the one that said that it's rock paper rank, right? And it's just a horrible way to lead. And I've done it, and I'm sure I'll probably do it again, and probably feel like a pile of crap. But um, when times like these happen, I feel if I follow, it makes me look weak, right? And I think that's ego, that's fear, that's always wanting to have, all the right answers to everything. But by me stepping back and letting other people take charge, it actually strengthens, our relationship. It encourages trust and encourages empowerment. Um, for people to take ownership and stuff. And we talk about that quite often, right? And I hate to be one of them, like I give somebody something and then take it back. And we've talked about that before. And I really, and again, it's just something that we all have to work on, and thrive to be better, right? Be better at these attributes, right? Um, that's not to say that, every leader has to be able and ready to take charge and make hard decisions. However, it is very important for us to be a good follower. And that's kind of the point of today's discussion. Today's, topic is knowing when to lead and know when to follow, right? And the difficult part of that, at least for me, is having the wisdom and the humility to know the difference. And as Jocko would say, that is the dichotomy, one of many dichotomies of leadership. And if you haven't read any Jocko stuff, man, extreme ownership is amazing. Doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in any type of management or leadership position, or even just a co-worker, co-leader, whatever. I highly recommend reading extreme ownership and the dichotomy of leadership. Both very, very well written books. There's a little bit of war story in it, but you really got to listen, because I've heard people not like their stuff because a lot of it is based around war and war stories and things like that. But there's a message in there. There's a message on how they have failed, how they have triumphed, and how it is applied in daily parenting and in organizations and stuff like that. So anyhow, as long as you don't really care, I think at the bottom line, it really comes down to, anything is possible as long as you don't mind not taking the credit for it. Doesn't matter how the job gets done. The important thing is that the job gets done. Right. And I think having confidence, a lot of it has to do with, having confidence in your abilities, your own abilities, right? Have you put in the time? Have you put in the effort? Have you had enough victories under your belt? And I know I've struggled where I start second guessing myself because there's a few plans, or ideas that didn't work out so well. And when it seems like when you get like 2 or 3 or 4 of them, that's just like punch in the gut, and you're fixated on like the failures of it and not really taking away what you've learned from those, step backs. Right. And I think that's the most important thing is learning along the way. And that if you are in a leadership position, or you're an entrepreneur, or even a parent, if you're a parent or mother or father out there, right, is learning from these setbacks, learning, because now that's experience. Now you've gained the experience, the knowledge, and all these things, and the confidence, right? Building that confidence up in your abilities, you know, can sometimes be hard to find, but strong leaders, right, should always encourage others to be good leaders, and not take that away. Lead by example, and always pushing praise down to the team. And that's the thing. That's the catch 22 here. During failures, um, if the team fails, I have to take that hit. If the team wins, I give them the hit. And I'm not always good at that. But if you can surround yourself around a good group of people. And I heard this the other day. I think Joseph Hughes might have said it. He said, good team members solve today's problems, while great leaders solve the problems that don't yet exist. And I think that's where I can get hemmed up sometimes, is where, I'm trying to solve problems, future issues, and things like that. And every decision that we make today is going to affect tomorrow. And to have some of those the decisions not quite go the way that I thought or was hoping, I just got to put trust and faith into my abilities. I have to put trust and faith in my team and my higher power, that it may not always work out the way that I wanted it to, but it worked out the way that it was supposed to work out. And I think if you can kind of live in that space, minute by minute, things always tend to work out the way that they should have worked out. And like Ed Milet says, this isn't happening to us, this is happening for us. So anyhow, as a great leader, our job is to see further, see faster, thrive under pressure, and be prepared. Be prepared for crisis. You know what I mean? We have three choices when shit hits the fan. We have three choices. Is it fight, flight, or freeze? And if we choose to fight, stick it out. Definitely don't want to run from it. And I'm guilty of freezing at times, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because sometimes the best thing to do is nothing. Right. So anyhow, try to stay cool, try to stay calm, be decisive as possible, and keep an open mind. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and that's where it's, including your team in helping make decisions, especially major decisions, and have a confidant, have somebody that you can confide in, like I do with Vic. Vic, there isn't much Vic doesn't know about what's going on in my life. And, I appreciate that. And he has the same thing with me too. There's not much that we don't talk about. But anyhow, there's David KX. Good to see you, buddy. Victorino. Hi, Jana. So anyhow, a lot of you know that we've been working on a book for quite some time. And I just kind of want to probably go through the attributes. We talked about the attributes last week, and the 12 attributes that where I'm at today, um, you know, would be, the first one would be self-awareness, that this starts with humility and vulnerability. Why do we want to be a leader, right? Like, why do I want to be a leader? Is it something that I want something out of? Like, is it self-serving, or am I getting involved with this leadership thing, to serve others? And that's something that you got to decide for yourself. And if you're okay, pretty much giving everything away, especially when you don't even have it, and helping other people, then leadership might be a good fit for you. Um, understand your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, your beliefs. Set a standard, right? Set standards early. Lead by example, and definitely no shortcuts. Right. Number two would be vision. Develop a clear and compelling vision for your team and your organization, right? And I think that's something that I do pretty good at times until I get myself over and inundated. It could be other businesses, it could be other shiny objects. We all suffer, I think, from complacency. I get very complacent at times. I get very distracted, and even for myself, the vision gets very dim, and I forget why the hell I'm even doing this sometimes. Um, but that vision should start with the very first interview. When someone comes to your organization and they sit down and they want to come work for you, is setting that expectation, setting that vision clear, and making sure that they're a right fit, for that vision, and how are they going to complement. Thank you for always having my back, babe. And as that Wade says, just when I need to hear something, and it provided. Isn't that the truth? Me too, man. It's like whenever our ears are open, we hear that message. Um, so number three, let's move on to number three here. And that would be communication, man. I am still working on this. And that's why this is in the top five of the 12 steps to great leadership, at least my 12 steps from my experience. I'm only sharing my experience. None of this is set in stone. This is just my kind of where I'm at today. And like I said, I'm hoping that I don't contradict myself tomorrow in some of this stuff. But from my experience, having clear, effective communication skills are crucial for sharing the vision and the goals, right? Learning how to articulate that message and get it out there, whether it's, writing it, core values, SOPs, KPIs, all those things is a form of communication to your team and making sure that they live out your life's mission, but also having, a vision big enough for their dreams to fit in, having a legacy large enough for those around you, for their legacy to fit in, right? Which can be hard, could be time consuming, take sometimes decades, right? For these things, it's great to want to go out and start a business and say, hey, I want to have a dream big enough for other people's dreams to fit in, which is great, which is exactly how or why you should start out in a business is having a service that you're providing to the local community that impacts those around you, right? I mean, really, at the end of the day, that's kind of what it is. Any good business has figured out a service that people need, right? So um, figure that out and do your best at serving people, and of course, integrity. Got to throw integrity in there. I don't know. I struggle with this word a little bit. I think it's used a lot until I can come up with something else, but you got to have it. You got to have it. You got to lead with honesty, transparency, and a strong sense of ethics. Okay. If you don't have ethics, if people can't trust your word, I mean, a lot of times the only thing you do have is your word. Like the old school days of a handshake. Like if I handshake you or I call you brother, like I really mean that. Like you are my brother. What's up, brother? You know what I mean? Like I don't just call anybody my brother. You know what I mean? And just got a code of ethics, right? You got to have your standards, and don't be afraid to have personal core values. Your personal core values may or may not be the same as your professional core values, right? Jana and I actually wrote probably about 2 years ago. We wrote family core values. I don't even know where the hell they're at. I'm gonna have to find them. I gotta get with Jana after this. I gotta find our. I almost feel embarrassed to say I don't know where they're at, and I don't even remember what the hell they are. So anyhow, I do know what my personal core values are, and a lot of them do align with my professional and our family's core values. So integrity, gotta have it. Especially what do they say integrity is? Integrity is doing the next right thing, especially when nobody's watching, right? And that's just like the Fearless 44 that Vic, myself, Jana, and a few other people online are actually um, partaking in right now. So anyhow, empowerment. Number 5, empowerment. Delegate responsibilities, trust your team, and allow them to grow and make decisions. And I hate this, but you gotta let them make mistakes. But that rolls into number 6, the accountability, right? You gotta allow them to make mistakes. Um, but were they malicious? Was it due to negligence? Right. So you got to put guide rails in place. Like you can let certain things slide at certain times, but it's the frequency of them and how often and how costly that it might be. You got to put guidelines in place. You got to put warnings in place. And warnings, what I mean by warnings and new policies and things like that, I mean, what it is, it's a reminder. Like, here's your warning. This warning is a reminder of how serious it is or could be if you continue to make these mistakes, right? Because we're all going to make mistakes. I couldn't tell you, I don't know how many. I made a lot of mistakes. I mean, sincerely, too many mistakes over the years to look down my nose at people and shun them, shame them, belittle them, and act as if I'm white as snow because God and a whole lot of people know that I'm not perfect, but working on that. So, number 7, adaptability. Adaptability, man, resiliency, right? Resiliency. I forgot we were going to talk about resiliency today. I said that last week. Um, I'll get around to that. But adaptability, man, you got to embrace change, got to be flexible and encourage and be open to innovation. Again, this is trust, building trust in yourself, building trust in your team, allowing them to be innovative, to come to the table with ideas, use their ideas. They're not always going to be good ideas, but hear them out. And who knows, they might be relevant later in time, just not today, because as things are fluid, right? Especially in business and families. I mean, Christ, the weather, we have no idea what the heck's going to happen. It's rained again. It's raining all day today. It rained yesterday. It rained day before. It's supposed to be 30% chance of rain Monday and Tuesday, but it rained. And I mean, it rained hard. So remain adaptable, right? Plans change, things change, people change, situations change. All we can do is adapt, bounce back like a rubber band, get up, never quit. Which leads me to number 8, emotional intelligence. Develop empathy, understand others, their emotions, manage your own emotions, right? And this is something I've worked on for decades, was to manage my emotions because I know that I can make any situation worse, or I can make it as good as I want, make it as bad as I want. And I've made a lot of situations worse where it didn't really necessarily matter what happened to me, what happened with the situation, but I've blown it out of proportion and have gotten in more trouble because of the way I responded. Instead of reacting, I responded poorly to a situation and just blew it completely out of proportion. Shit, I think I've even gotten locked up. Yeah, we do need to build an arc, Vic. Screw it. Build an arc. Yeah. So emotional intelligence, man. Develop it. Get it. Have empathy. Understand others. Meet them where they're at. Right? It's not much I haven't been through. Right? Hear them out. Be an ear for somebody. I may not have all the answers, and sometimes I don't need to say anything. Sometimes you just need to shut your mouth and they need someone to just listen. They just need to get it out. So, anyhow, number 9, decisiveness. Make well informed and timely decisions. Nobody likes indecisiveness. I mean, Vic and I had a funny before this, and I was going to use this as an example. I suffer from being hangry at times. I'll get so hungry, right? And Jana, she'll be so hungry. We're both hungry, and it doesn't even really matter. Like, I just want something to eat. Doesn't matter what, but neither one of us can decide where the hell we want to eat. I'll make a suggestion. Like, no, I don't want that. Well, I thought you were hungry. Where do you want to eat? I don't know. Well, if you don't want to eat here, then where do you want to eat? And it's like you kind of go back and forth, and it's so annoying, and it's adding to the anger, it's adding to the irritability and discontentment. And it's like nobody likes that, right? And I don't know how many times I just wish somebody would make a decision, right, wrong, or indifferent. Just make a decision. Let's go there. Let's do this. Let's implement that. Let's just figure it out along the way. Let's figure out how to build a freaking parachute once we already had jumped out of the airplane. Doesn't matter. It is hard. It's hard. It's hard to control emotions, especially if I didn't sleep well, especially if I broke all these micro promises to myself for weeks, right? And this is the thing I've discovered. If there's something wrong, there's something wrong with me. And 9 chances out of 10, if I don't like somebody or something, it's because I see myself. Think about that for a minute. Let that sink in. If I don't like somebody, usually it's because I see myself. So, anyhow, I'm going to let that there for a minute. Be decisive. Number 10, team building. Foster collaboration. Encourage diversity, not too much, just enough so people can voice their opinions. Make sure they're not clotheslining each other from the top rope or anything like that. Make sure you're building strong relationships within your team, right? Where you can have that trust and have that empathy and have an area where people can voice their opinions. Where if they do make a mistake, okay, they shouldn't fear coming to you, right? There shouldn't be a snitch somebody out policy as long as everyone's willing to hold themselves accountable. And when they do make a mistake, especially a large mistake that could cost the company, or company's got to mysteriously pull money out of their ass unexpectedly, right? It's not about pointing fingers. It's about owning your shit, coming to the office, knocking on the door, saying, hey, I screwed up, but this is what I think we can do. Or I screwed up. I have no idea what to do, but I needed you to know that I screwed up. That way, later on, when that check needs to be written for that mistake, or something needs to be paid sooner, or whatever the case might be, right? Because eventually it's going to come out. And it only makes you look worse if you don't own up to it. So create a culture, create an atmosphere where people step up and say, you know what, I made a mistake. And don't be the martyr, right? Don't be a martyr when you do it. Just own your shit. Right. And I know that's a hell of a lot easier said than done. Right. Because especially if you've been screwing up a lot or you've been caught doing other things and didn't own up to shit, it makes it even more difficult, especially when you already have a reputation for being a thief or a liar. Right. So don't ever put yourself in that situation. Right. It goes back to, empathy, or I'm sorry, integrity. Just have integrity. Because really at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. Number 11, recognition and appreciation. Recognize and appreciate the contributions of your team members regularly. Now, I'm not saying be that person that needs a pat on the ass every 2.3 seconds, but I'm not saying don't be that leader that doesn't ever show appreciation. Don't be that leader that expects people to just do their job, right? Well, that's what I pay you. So now you want me to recognize you because you're doing your job? I'm guilty of that. I've said that. It's like, well, be grateful you got a job today. You know what I had to jump through to make sure payroll was made? Guess what? This is the shit that I signed up for. I still get stuck in that stuff where it's like, be grateful you got a job. We made payroll, but barely made it. Right? Had to sell a motorcycle and second mortgage on the house. And anybody who's been in business long enough understands exactly what I'm talking about. Like we got to give even when we don't have it. We just got to figure that shit out. Right. So give them recognition, show them appreciation, whether it's pizza on a Friday, twice a month, breakfast in the morning at the shop. Um, you know, it's just whatever. It's hard to get creative to one up things sometimes, and it just I know it stings as a leader where you feel like you're not being appreciated too. But again, um, this is what we signed up for. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing this shit, right? Um, and then last but not least, number 12, the 12 steps of great leadership. Continuous learning. Stay curious, man. Stay curious. You know, um, yeah, ChatGPT does have good ideas. David, I was on a call yesterday with David Carroll from Dope Marketing, and that's what he said. He said ChatGPT, he actually had some great ideas that we're going to probably implement. So, but thank you for your input there, Alex. But continuous learning, stay curious, seek new knowledge, continuously push yourself, improve yourself, and your leadership ability. Right? You don't know what you don't know. Right? So dive in, dig in, and ask questions. Right? Surround yourself around smarter people. If you're always in a room where you think you're the smartest person, you're probably in the wrong rooms. And that's why I do a call. I do a bi-weekly call with a group of men. Then that's not intentional whatsoever. There's women are allowed. It's for business owners, leaders, and managers. Not everybody owns a business in there. And it was the call I was talking about earlier with David Carroll on the call. And he's talking about doing $100 million here soon in his business. He's got about 125 people that work for him. And that's someplace I want to be someday, right? Or I'm working towards like he's working towards. So obviously he's the kind of person that I would want in my space because he's trying to achieve the same things that we're achieving, right? And vice versa. So he would want to be around people who aspire him to do great things and know that it is possible and want to know those that he has surrounded himself around to get him where he is today. And not to be afraid to be the dumbest person in the room and to admit that, but not bashing yourself to the point where it's almost embarrassing to be sitting in that room, but smart enough and courageous enough to sit in these rooms, to be around people who are where you want to be or who have been where you want to be, right? So continuous learning, I can't say enough, and just leadership is an ongoing process. And these steps, can guide you on your journey. And those are the chapters of my book. I'm not getting into a whole bunch of the book stuff yet. Um, I will get it out there at some point in time. And I'll keep leaking little things out like this as time goes on. But it's progress rather than perfection. You know what I mean? And it's a journey. There's no destination here. Vic, what'd you get? I got a book by Tony Russa on leadership, One Last Strike. Just started it. And it covers so much on leadership. That's good, man. I mean, you can't get enough. You can't get enough. I can't, at least where I'm at today. You know what I mean? Especially if you're trying to create a legacy and pass on the knowledge that you've learned. And that's the thing about leadership. Everything that I've been taught needs to be teached. I have to teach the things. I have to, and when I say I have to give this thing away, this is one of many things. When I say you have to give this thing away in order to keep it, it's one of the things I'm talking about. Everything that I've learned over the years has to be given away if I want to keep this. If I want to keep any of this, if I want to keep my sanity, if I want to continue to keep learning and I want to keep giving, I have to keep pushing forward. I have to continuously surround myself around smarter people. I have to suck it up. I have to be humble enough, raise my hand, ask a question. I did, man. I was so poor at that in school. I never wanted anybody to know that I didn't know the answer to something, and that's something that, as human beings, our ego, our pride, all those negative, bad things that have held me back for so long, have gotten in the way of me succeeding faster, further, longer, harder, was just simply by not asking questions. But then that's where failure comes into play too. I've failed because I didn't ask for directions. I didn't read the instructions, right? I failed, but I figured it out. I got hands-on experience, and a knucklehead like me, when the pain's great enough, I'll get off my dead ass and I'll do something about it. But there's also 5 principles, on how to get here, right? And the 5 principles, which will also be in the book, is number one is that your thoughts and your words become your emotions. Okay. Number two, your emotions become your actions. Number three, your actions become your habits. Number four, your habits become your values. And number five, your values become your destiny. So cool. So that's pretty much it. If you're a contractor out there, leader, an entrepreneur, whatever, you want to learn more, follow us on Facebook, YouTube. And hey, listen, if you're a homeowner out there, right, and your roof is old and it's leaking or it's damaged, don't wait for things to get worse. At TC Backer, we have helped thousands of homeowners protect their homes with quality roofing, financing options, and a team you can trust. Want to take it to the next step? Visit our website or give us a call for a free inspection. No pressure, just answers. And remember, solid roof isn't just about shingles. It's about peace of mind. Anyhow, you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Happy 4th of July, everybody. And for those of you that know Bill W., make sure you reach out to Jana on Friday. Jana's got a big day coming up on Friday. So any of you that are friends with Bill, give Jana a shout. Till next week, I love you guys. Stay safe, stay dry, and stay hydrated. Have a good week.